somewhat of terrible experiences in her childhood, and she suffers from a broken heart and has her entire life. So because she can't be here, and because we're doing this, she will be able to participate in the healing. So when we heal our own broken hearts, we really do help heal the planet. You to this new class, Heal Your Broken Heart, Releasing Emotional Trauma with EFT. In today's class, you will learn how a broken heart creates a signature chemistry in the brain and in the body, and how unhealed grief perpetuates hormones that not only break down our body cells, but also damage the part of the brain that could help us heal. Okay? Today, you will also begin processing those hormones of grief and pain and anguish out of your body cells, out of your emotions, out of your brain chemistry, out of your memories. You will begin to create a new and different brain chemistry that will support you. And you will begin to create new neural pathways in the brain that will not only support your ongoing healing, but also support more habitual joy and expansion. I'd like to share with you that this class began, as so many others do, in the middle of trauma and tragedy. Last autumn, I thought I was immune to heartbreak. I thought I was too careful, too circumspect, too old, right? Heartbreak is for the very young. As it turned out, I was terribly wrong. There are so many ways to break the human heart, and it doesn't matter who we are or what we do or what we think we know. I was blindsided by heartbreak, and I didn't know how to cope with it. I do this kind of work every day, and I was having a hard time healing my broken heart, even managing to continue to live day after day with it. Not long after that, an entire classroom of children and their teachers were murdered, and our entire country felt the grief of a broken heart as we empathized and grieved with the parents and friends of these children and the people who tried to defend them. As I was struggling to process all this pain, theirs and mine, I was very tuned in to the emotions of everyone around me, extended family, friends, even people I didn't know. When we're so vulnerable, we don't have any defenses and we feel everything. And I realized that so many of these people around me were suffering terribly, and it all had to do with the pain of a broken heart. Old relationships that were damaging, that had never healed. Family dynamics that created painful self-worth issues. Demeaning, humiliating relationships with teachers and employers. Parents, friends, partners, pets dying and suffering. Pets with cancer. Friends dying in little stages from the side effects of chemotherapy. Betrayal and rejection and humiliation in romance and love. So many hearts breaking and not really healing. Heartbreak happens to each one of us. There are so many ways for the heart to break, and it manifests differently for each one of us. We all have different levels of sensitivity. We all have different backgrounds, different beliefs, and different belief downloads, the subconscious beliefs that we don't know we have because we began downloading them before we were born. All of these things affect how heartbreak manifests in each one of us. Almost every one of us has experienced heartbreak at some time in our lives, on some level. We may have repressed it, we may have worked through it consciously, but if we haven't processed it out of our brain chemistry and out of our body cells, it remains there. It creates a blueprint for insecurity and pain in our relationships, and it gives us the feeling in the back of our mind, a subconscious impression that says, what can I really expect out of life? And this subconscious energy is what keeps us from moving forward. Because this is what emotional pain does. It creates an imprint, a lasting imprint in the fear center of the brain. And we continue to experience heartache and grief and pain because our brain and our body are continuing to respond to that imprint. So all of these hearts breaking around me and no one really healing, and one day I thought, what if I could take the mind-body healing techniques that I write about and use them in specific ways to heal the broken heart? What if we could bring new energy to heart healing? Less confusion and more clarity, less regret and more self-compassion, less prolonged suffering and more deep healing. What if we could do that? So, in order to heal the heart, we need to know what really happens to us when our heart is broken. What happens to the brain and the body? What happens inside us when we experience a broken heart? When we experience heartbreak, it is recorded, and this doesn't matter, by the way, if it's an event or a trauma that is sudden and instant and traumatizes us, or if it happens over a long period of time in a damaging relationship. Either way, heartbreak is recorded as an injury to the brain and the body. Okay? It sets up a resonating signature, chemical signature, and that signature is registered in the limbic system of the brain. The part of our brain that registers pain and decides what our emotional experience of it will be is called the limbic system. The limbic system is the oldest developmental part of the brain. It starts developing before the fetus is even getting arms and legs. It's part of the nodal cord. And because it's the oldest part of our brain, the oldest part of us that develops, the first part, it affects all the other parts of the brain and all of the body, including the organ systems. So when we experience heartache, it is first experienced as a storm in our brain chemistry, and that injury remains there. When something happens that reminds the limbic system of this earlier trauma or this earlier bad relationship, immediately the brain will turn on, in 3 seconds, adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone. Okay? And it doesn't matter how long ago this trauma was or how long ago this bad relationship was. The limbic system never forgets, because this injury has been encoded as a defense mechanism. The limbic system is responsible for us being safe, and it never wants us to deal with that again. So the moment something reminds it of our past heartache, it turns on the stress hormones. Okay? So first is brain chemistry. The stress hormones also break down our body. When we're experiencing heartache, again and again, when we relive it, cortisol is circulating in our system. It causes us loss of sleep, causes us poor quality of sleep when we do get it, fatigue, brain fog, memory loss, increased midline fat, loss of muscle mass, and clinical depression. Okay? So brain and body. Also, when we continue to relive our heartache, when we have not processed it out of our mind and our emotions and our body, we continue to experience the effects in the hippocampus of our brain. It damages the part of the brain known as the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for our memory and for our enthusiasm over new experiences. So the part of us that could help us heal is being damaged when we relive our grief, when we don't process it out. Okay? Third, when we experience heartache and emotional trauma of any kind, short-term or long-term, it disrupts the body meridians, the energy meridians, thousands of energy pathways that run through the brain and the body. When these energy meridians are disrupted relative to this trauma, they remain disrupted, causing fatigue, depression, and ultimately serial chronic illnesses. And they remain disrupted until we normalize them, rebalance them relative to this type of trauma. Okay? And fourth, it is the meaning of trauma, the meaning of heartbreak that actually breaks our heart. What hurts us the most is not the event, not the cruel words, not even the betrayal of our trust. What hurts us the most is the meaning that we have attached to these events, to this trauma, to these words. For instance, my boss said these humiliating things to me in front of my coworkers. I can't go back there. I can't show my face. They think I'm a loser. I'm worthless to that company. I'm worthless, period. Or, she said my income is pitiful. I'm not a good provider. How can I be a good father if I'm not providing for my children? I can't do anything right. Or, my partner cheated on me. That means I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not enough for anyone. Or, my father said I was a millstone around his neck. I should never have been born. Or, my wife died, my parents died, my child, my pet. I will never experience that kind of love again in my life. I am alone in this world. Okay? It's not what happens to us, it's not the event, it's the meaning that we attach to it. Okay? So how do we heal a broken heart when it manifests in all these places of our lives? How can we do this? How can we really create healing? The good news is that EFT, also known as emotional freedom technique or meridian tapping, can heal your broken heart on all of those levels. In every part of your brain and body and life, meridian tapping can help you heal. I have seen it work incredibly, beautifully, wonderfully on everything from PTSD to memories of abuse to humiliating breakups to physical addictions. It works on all of those levels. So how does that happen? How can we heal our heart and make this happen? How does meridian tapping really work? Okay, first, meridian tapping changes limbic system signals. Remember the limbic system, the primitive part of the brain that has registered this injury, okay? Registers in the brain and in the body. When we're tapping on these acupressure points, and these are acupressure points on the face and the trunk of the body. This is where we'll be tapping. When we're tapping on these acupressure points and focusing our thoughts on this traumatic event, whatever it was that happened to us, or this damaging relationship, we change the limbic system signals. We send fear dampening signals to the limbic system relative to that event, and the limbic system begins to quiet, okay? So immediately the limbic system begins to recognize, okay, I don't have to be afraid. This is going to be all right. And when the limbic system quiets, it stops producing cortisol. So we stop breaking down the cells of our body. So we begin feeling better emotionally, but we also start restoring our body. Okay? So it changes limbic system signals. Second, when we are tapping on these acupressure points and focusing on this thought, again, it rebalances our energy meridians relative to that event or trauma. Okay? This is the effect of EFT tapping. Third, when we are doing this tapping, we rewire our brain. This is huge. New realizations are recorded in the brain as synchronous oscillations. That means new wiring that is taking place in many places of the brain at once. Okay? The moment the brain recognizes a new way to perceive, new neural pathways to carry that message. With repeated practice, tapping, EFT, we completely rewire the brain around an event or trauma or a series of traumas. Okay? And within 1 hour of repeated stimulation, the brain can double the number of connections in the brain, the number of connections in a neural bundle regarding this. So the brain is an immense resource, an immense potential for healing. And we can tap into it literally, and you will be in just a few minutes. Okay? And fourth, EFT helps us transform the meaning of events. If it's the meaning of the event that holds our trauma, changing that meaning is what holds our healing. This is what provides our healing. When we begin EFT, the first part of EFT is tapping on the karate chop point of the hand, and we combine the recall of a stressful event with a positive self-acceptance statement. So for instance, in the death of a parent, even though my parents died and left me all alone and I feel hopeless and despairing, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And we say that statement 3 times. That's how we begin EFT. The setup statement of EFT, combining the recall of the event with the self-acceptance statement, is the beginning of cognitive change for the brain. It begins to change how we see this, how we feel, and how the brain processes this trauma. It begins to change the meaning of the event for us. Okay? So in the next part of the class, we're going to be working on whatever each of you would like to release and process from your life, anything that you would like to release, old or new, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's major to someone else, it only has to be meaningful to you. Because remember, what is harmless to someone else means everything to us. Our backgrounds are different, and it affects us differently. So the next part of the class will actually be practice with EFT, processing what you would like to process out of your life, anything that you would like to process that's caused you heartache, any kind of heartache, okay? So I'll give you just a little demonstration. Using the first one about the death of a parent, even though my parents died and left me all alone, I deeply and profoundly love and accept. We're tapping on these points. We say the reminder phrase that makes us remember what we're tapping on, that keeps our thoughts focused on this so that it's the forefront of our brain and the brain is reprocessing it, okay? So in this case it would be, my parents died, left me all alone, etc. I encourage you to tap along with us, whoever I'm tapping with. There is an effect known as shared and borrowed benefits. When we are tapping, focusing on what we want to change, and we're tapping along with someone else, the enhanced benefits are immense in a group of people who are doing it.
That's why I'm here.
I wrote the class before I talked to you.
Too funny. But can I make a comment first?
Sure, yes.
When you were talking about events in the past, I mean, I was just, because I'm doing a lot of clearing right now, because yes, my 2 parents died in the last 4 months, but anyway, I got something from my divorce, this letter that my ex-husband wrote to me, and it was, to me, it was awful.
No problem. And these things don't come up for no reason, right?
So
they come up at the time when we are ready to get rid
of all
of it,
the old
to let
stuff.
it go.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Releasing of all
and
the old stuff.
You're right. The limbic system never forgets. The same hormones of grief and anxiety and despair, all the things that were there at the time. It's reactivated. It never forgets.
There. Yeah,
right.
It's just funny. Okay, so that's a big thing.
And this was in the period of short time.
Yeah, last September and this February. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, even though my parents died, and I have felt so all alone,
all alone,
I always thought I would have at least one parent.
I always thought I would have at least one parent.
I didn't really say that to myself.
But
I really didn't think they would both be gone now. I didn't think I would be alone.
I
didn't think so much grief would come up for me. I didn't think I could be so vulnerable. Even though I have felt so much pain over this. And so much loss. It has been a huge loss to me. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And even though I have felt alone. And sad. And it seems as though I have lost so much. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Even though I feel alone sometimes still. And so many things have come up to remind me of my grief. I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Okay, now we'll do some tapping on here. This has been very hard for me. On the side of the eye. It was so hard to lose them. After one parent, I still had my mother left. I still had someone. I didn't feel alone. Under the first rib, I wasn't alone.
And I wasn't alone.
She was still there. I still had someone. And even though my father was gone, my mother was still there. And I still felt together. I still felt family. In the place where I lived. I still had family. And I still had a parent. There's a part of me that loves having a parent. Even though I have a child.
And I have a grandchild.
I still loved having a parent. There's something in me that would like to feel
that I'm not the only adult that I am not the only adult,
that there's someone who's still a parent,
that there is someone who is still a parent,
someone who's nurturing me,
someone who is nurturing me,
someone who's still there for me,
someone who is still there for me,
someone who still needs me,
someone who still needs me,
someone that I can care for,
someone I can care for,
someone I love to care for.
someone I love to care for.
And I miss that.
And I miss that.
Something that I will remind everyone now, there you can see the Kleenexes around here. When we cry tears because we're chopping onions, that's just saline solution. It's the same stuff that they give us in an IV in a hospital. When we cry emotional tears, there are hormones in those tears. Hormones of grief and sadness and loss. And that is how tears help us heal. Okay? So when we cry tears, they're healing us. Okay? Even though I still have some of that pain.
I still have some of that pain.
And I kind of miss caring for my mother.
And I kind of miss caring for my mother.
I loved her.
I loved her.
I love her still.
I love her still.
I deeply and profoundly love myself.
I deeply and profoundly love myself.
I miss my mother.
I miss my mother.
I missed caring for her.
I miss caring for her.
I miss her being here.
I miss her being here.
I miss my mother.
I miss my mother.
Sometimes I don't realize how much.
Sometimes I don't realize how much.
Until something happens.
Until something happens.
That something reminds me.
That something reminds me.
I'm still emotionally vulnerable.
I'm still emotionally vulnerable.
Okay, now tapping by the eye. I can feel this vulnerability.
I can feel this vulnerability.
When I received these papers,
it
reminded me how hurt I was.
Reminded me how hurt I was.
All that old hurt
came
rushing back. It's like it was yesterday. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe I could feel so much. After all those years. Why would I feel that stuff? Did I really not heal? Did I really still care? Was there a part of me that was still vulnerable? How could I feel that much? After all this time? Okay, deep breath. And another deep breath. Even though my parents are not here physically, and even though I still have some pain sometimes, I am learning to nurture myself. And to tune into the loving energy of them, as they still love me. And I deeply and profoundly love and trust myself. Tapping by the eye. I can feel my parents sometimes. I am open to the idea of healing all these emotions. I'm open to the idea of processing out the hurt.
Processing
out the hurt. Of processing out all the pain.
Out all of the pain.
I'm willing to consider letting all of that go. The pain of loss. The pain of missing them. The pain of feeling that I don't have a parent. Right here with me. I'm willing to process. I'm willing to consider. Feeling such love for myself. That I begin to heal. I'm willing to consider. Letting all that pain go. And I'm willing to consider. Any resentment. That I still hold. With all of those old feelings. All those papers that came through. To remind me of all that heartache. All the anger. All the pain. All the blame. I'm willing to consider. Being whole. I'm willing to consider. Allowing my heart.
Allowing my heart
To feel healing. I'm willing to consider
I'm willing to consider
loving myself enough
loving myself enough
to feel better.
to feel better.
I'm willing to consider
I'm willing to consider
I'm feeling a little better now.
I'm feeling a little better now.
I'm willing to consider
I'm willing to consider
allowing my heart to be whole,
allowing my heart to be whole,
to feel healed.
feel healed.
Deep breath. Okay, one more breath. Okay, how was that?
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
When we
Wow.
process out pain, we allow room for healing to come in. And when I'm working with a client or a class, after we've processed out some of the pain and we're starting to feel a level of that pain disseminating, then we start to bring in a new kind of energy. Sometimes, the second thing is, when you have brought down the emotional charge a little bit, when you have when you can tell that you've gone, say, from a 10 to like a 5 in terms of the emotional charge, the difficulty that it presents, then at that point, if you're still not ready to forgive maybe, or to consider feeling wonderful, then a transitional statement is a way to introduce the idea of healing and feeling better to your brain, especially if it's a long-standing trauma or one that was a very traumatic event that caused you huge distress, okay? So phrases like, transitional phrases like, I'm willing to consider. I'm willing to consider that this could get better. I'm willing to consider that I won't have to have this pain forever. I'm willing to consider the possibility of healing. Just those kind of words, those softer words, I'm willing to consider, opens up the brain to healing, okay? Especially if it's been a long time and we never thought it was possible. The brain doesn't forget, remember, and so we are changing the programming, and softer phrases like that allow us to do it, okay? Who else would like to process something that they would like to process?
I will. I think I failed at relationships, and then what happens is that then I emotionally eat from it, and so what I want to.
That's true for a lot of us. You know?
And so I need to remove that. I mean, there's just I don't know. It seems like for the last I don't know, probably 5 years, I just picked the wrong person, and it's really hurtful that they could be so mean to you.
Things that they say, things that they do.
Yeah, or lie, or and so
lies.
forth.
Yeah,
and then I just go for food, and then I get so disappointed in myself that I'm eating through the emotion, and then to the point of eating way too much that makes me sick and blah blah blah.
So we would process first the idea of and thank you for this, because it gives us a really good point about meridian tapping. For some other reason, and we can't figure it out, we're a convenient person to blame, right? Especially if we've had a background where we were blamed for other things that perhaps we weren't responsible for. This sets up a repeat pattern in the subconscious mind of a child, and we do this again and again and again in our adulthoods, okay? So specificity, being specific about what we're processing, is the way to have very, very effective healing with EFT and meridian tapping. For instance, a person who had to have an arm amputated, for instance, there might be 70 or 80 different aspects of that problem. Getting dressed in the morning, having other people see him in public, having family and friends see him, looking in the mirror, shaving, all these different kinds of things, maybe 60 or 70 things that would be different parts, different aspects of that problem. And we would start tapping on the first one that comes to mind. We'd tap on that first thing until it feels clear, till the emotions are down to like a 3 or less, and then we would tap on the next thing. If there's a huge problem facing you that has so many aspects, some emotional trauma, childhood abuse, something that happened that has so many parts of it, write down every thought that you can think of about it, everything that you can remember, and begin tapping one by one, each one until you clear one by one. By doing this, by being very specific, after about 10 or 15, the others seem to just melt away. This seems to be how EFT works. The brain, we know now, is starting its rewiring. So being very specific about these things is how you can get wonderful results. So we would start first with, I think, the betrayal, because this is so hard for us. It's humiliating and damaging when someone betrays our trust and treats us badly, you know. The reason is your subconscious mind knows you don't deserve it. It's not in alignment with what you deserve. And so the brain, which has to have congruence, is creating discomfort, you know, agony over what this person did.
Mm-hmm.
So we tap on that our home.
He stabilized our home.
I could even have a good relationship
I could even have a good relationship
with my mother,
with my mother,
as long as he was there.
as long as he was there.
He was so much to me.
He was so much to me.
He meant so much to me.
He meant so much to me.
There's something still so missing
There's something still so missing
in my life
in my life
without him.
without him.
I miss him so much.
I miss him so much.
I guess I didn't realize how much.
I guess I didn't realize how much.
I didn't know how he stabilized our home.
I didn't know how he stabilized our home.
When he was there,
When he was there,
I didn't realize.
I didn't realize.
I knew I loved him,
I knew I loved him,
but I didn't realize how much I miss him now.
but I didn't realize how much I miss him now.
Could I possibly heal from that?
Could I possibly heal from that?
He's never coming back,
It's never coming back.
and I feel so alone without him,
And I feel so alone without him.
without his energy,
Without his energy.
without him between me and my mother.
Without him between me and my mother.
I don't have anyone.
I don't have any.
It's just me,
It's just me.
and I'm alone,
And I'm alone.
and I feel it,
And I feel it.
and I feel his absence
And I feel his absence
every day.
every day.
And even though I feel this pain
And even though I feel his pain
and this loss
and this loss
and this huge empty gaping hole
and this huge empty gaping hole
in my life,
in my life,
I deeply and profoundly
I deeply and profoundly
love and respect myself.
love and respect myself.
Even though I have this pain
Even though I have this pain
and I miss him
and I miss him
and I love him so much
and I love him so much
and I feel so vulnerable,
and I feel so vulnerable,
I deeply and profoundly
I deeply and profoundly
love and respect myself.
love and respect myself.
I miss him
I miss him
and I deeply and profoundly
and I deeply and profoundly
love and trust myself.
love and trust myself.
Okay, tapping on the eye. I miss my dad
I miss my dad.
every day.
Cara dia.
I miss him
I miss him
so much.
so much.
I can feel the loss
I can feel the loss,
even now.
even now.
It feels like a pain
Feels like a pain
that will never leave.
that will never leave.
There's a space
There's a space
that no one else is going to fill.
that no one else is going to fill.
How am I going to make that feel better?
How am I going to make that feel better?
I miss him so much.
I miss him so much.
I guess I never really healed this.
I guess I never really healed this.
I allowed him to be gone.
I allowed him to be gone.
I never did the healing.
I never did the healing.
I am missing him.
I am missing him.
It feels so empty.
It feels so empty.
I would love to feel better.
I would love to feel better.
I haven't really thought about that.
I haven't really thought about that.
I never thought
I never thought
about the possibility
about the possibility
of feeling better.
of feeling better.
I've only been thinking
I've only been thinking
about the pain,
about the pain,
the loss,
the loss,
the emptiness,
the emptiness.
how I'm not really doing anything
How I'm not really doing anything
except existing
except existing.
because my energy
Because my energy
is resonating
is resonating
with the loss,
with the loss,
with what I don't have.
with what I don't have.
Okay, deep breath. Okay, another deep breath. Even though my dad
Even though my dad
is not physically here,
is not physically here,
there is a connection for us.
there's a connection for us.
Maybe I really haven't explored it.
Maybe I really haven't explored it.
Even though he's not physically here,
Even though he's not physically here,
his love for me never stopped.
his love for me never stopped.
That is something I still have.
That is something I still have.
I will always have that.
I'll always have that.
And if I remember
And if I remember
how much he loved me,
how much he loved me,
how much he loves me still,
how much he loved me still,
I can remember
I can remember
to love myself better.
to love myself better.
My dad loved me so much.
My dad loved me so much.
How could I forget that?
How could I forget that?
I haven't really been focusing on that part.
I haven't really been focusing on that part.
And I deeply and profoundly
And I deeply and profoundly
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
My dad
My dad
loved me so much.
loved me so much.
I loved him.
I loved him.
And I need to remember,
And I need to remember,
it's possible for me to remember,
it's possible for me to remember
how much he loved me.
how much he loved me.
And what a gift that was to me.
And what a gift that was to me.
And it's a gift
And it's a gift
that I can tap into now.
that I can tap into now.
If I remember
If I remember
how much he loved me,
how much he loved me,
how much he loves me still.
how much he loves me still.
This is an energy
This is an energy
that I can carry inside me
that I can carry inside me
every single day,
every single day,
if I want to.
if I want to.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Here we are. Here you are. Okay, let's have one deep breath. And another breath. Expansion and new energy and the possibility of something that we didn't allow ourselves to have before. Just the idea of allowing, just considering the possibility can open up so much for us. That was very, very good. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that, and you did a great job at it.
thank you. I didn't think I'd cry.
None of us do. We really don't think we're going to until we strike that nerve, you know, that part of the limbic system. Yeah. Do you want to tap on your ex-husband, or do you want to? We hold in our heart. The heart is incredibly vulnerable. We don't like to be vulnerable, right? But it is our very vulnerability that allows us to experience the entire gamut of emotions that we're capable of as humans. And it's our vulnerability that allows us to experience the most transcendent of emotions. Kindness, compassion, generosity, friendship, loyalty, romantic love, lasting happiness, unbridled bliss. When we heal our hearts, when we heal our broken hearts, we can experience our whole range of emotions and still feel whole and strong. If you're hurting today, if your heart is breaking, if you have experienced an emotional trauma, then hear these words from a man who experienced depression and despair his whole lifetime. He called it the black dog that walks beside me. He was publicly humiliated and rejected to such a degree that he left his work in the city and he went to the country to read and to paint and to write and to heal his own broken heart. I have repeated these words hundreds of times to myself. They helped me get through some of the darkest days of my life. Hear these words from Winston Churchill. We shall draw from the heart of suffering itself the means for inspiration and survival. What does that mean? Inside every trauma, inside every time our heart breaks, inside every moment when we think we can't breathe another breath, inside every pain that we feel are the seeds of healing and transformation. They are inside every one of us. They are inside you. The seeds for healing and transformation are in every neural circuit of your brain. They're in every cell of your body. And you can access it by using meridian tapping. Using the tapping you learned today, you can transform your trauma and heal your pain and create a life that you love. If you are feeling pain today, then consider this. 5 minutes a day of tapping. 5 minutes a day to heal your broken heart. 5 minutes a day to transform your trauma. 5 minutes a day to create joy and expansion and a life that you love. You can do this in just 5 minutes a day. You can feel your pain leave from all the places where it's stuck, and you can finally let it go. You don't need it anymore. I'm Dr. Lynne Zimmerman. I wish you every healing, every transformation, and every kind of love, all that your heart can hold. Be well and thrive.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, this is my
Does
book.
it tell you about how to do the
Yes,
EFT
it has
tapping?
tapping. It has talks about brain rewiring, and it has exercises for different things, depression, all those different
For
kinds
the-
of things. Yeah,
how to do
it's
the
in bookstore.
tapping?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you all for being
Thank
here.
you, thank you very much. Where's that book available?
We have a bookstore here.
Oh, great.
Or
What they have
these
here?
out of it, or just take them to the cash register.
Oh, yeah, actually,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's why they're in here for.
I'll take one. That was beautiful. I really appreciate it. I feel a lot better.
I'm so glad. Tell me your first name, because I'm sure I saw your signature, but I can't see it without my glasses.
Allison.
Allison, okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Good to see you, and I'm
What a
so glad.
blessing.
I'm so glad you got it. Thank you.
I did.